Hi, my name is Dudley Lee. My speech is about Shigeru Miyamoto, who is the inventor of most of the recognizable video games from Nintendo, like Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong. Gaming is kind of more of a niche hobby, but there are some video game characters that are woven into the societal fabric, like Mario. Everyone knows who Mario is, the most recognizable character on the planet. Donkey Kong, Zelda. In my time when I studied game design and things like that, almost any game you play is going to be somewhat derivative of a game made by Miyamoto, probably in the 80s or 90s. RPGs are going to be derivative of Zelda in some way. Platformers could be derivative of Donkey Kong or Mario or any kind of arcade game. Stylistically, artistically, they all come back to Shigeru Miyamoto. My very first console ever was Nintendo 64, and my first games were Mario 64, Ocarina of Time. These are shared memories from most people my age, part of our childhood. And when you look at the way that he talks about these games and the way that he appreciates the characters he's made throughout the years, you can see the passion he had, along with the mind to create what he did. Recently, they opened Nintendo World at Universal. He was there on day one in Florida, dressed up, taking pictures with Donkey Kong, super excited, even though it's been almost 50 years. He revolutionized the video game industry. Video games in the 80s were still kind of experimental, extremely experimental. Were not something that's in everybody's home, or let alone everybody's phone now. And before Mario, you had games like Pong, or games that were super simple, one objective, rather than a recognizable character, let alone. He's from rural Japan, and most of his influence for these games came from the way that he would play as a child, where he would go cave diving, exploring, is what inspired him to make Zelda, which is a game that just drops you in, lets you go wherever you want. You can do things out of order, or any order you want to, typically. There's secrets around. Every single screen in the original Zelda game has a secret that can be found in some way, to the point where everyone knows where all of them are these days. When he grew up in Shinobi, he developed these passions for drawing, exploring, storytelling, which led to his involvement with Nintendo when he went there in 1977. When he was an apprentice, he was there when they were a playing card company, which is a little strange, but Nintendo's playing cards were very unique in the 70s and 60s, because Nintendo's a very old company, way older than video games are, even though that's what we know them for today. And when they were transitioning to being an electronics brand, he was the first one that they would allow to take or to make pitches about different games. And the president of Nintendo would see, you could make these games so quick, he would see dozens of pitches. And he would greenlight very few. And you had to present basically a complete game because of how small they were back then. So you had to present the completed Donkey Kong, the completed Zelda. And these were greenlit, and it led to huge gains for Nintendo instantly. And he kept on developing them. He's still with them to this day, and keeps making more characters like Pikmin, Kirby, even more easily recognizable characters. In Stephen Kent's Ultimate History of Video Games, his early ideas were so unique and playful that they caught the attention of the executives, and that's what led to his being brought in to be seen. The executives themselves were the ones that called him in. When he introduced Donkey Kong, that game also introduced Mario. It was a huge arcade success, which transitioned into the home entertainment system very seamlessly when they invented the idea of a platformer. And then that became the Super Mario Brothers, was the platformer version of that game, where it was an actual game with levels where you went across the map. There was more to see, way more enemies. Just going from one screen, one character, to an expansive world of platforming was a humongous leap, which he did all the time with Nintendo. And then when he made Legend of Zelda, the more focus was on problem solving, puzzle solving, trying to find secrets, just exploring, just figuring things out by trying things, cause and effect, trial and error, until you got things right. It's where Zelda's the most sandbox game you can play possibly these days, at least in terms of an RPG. In RGN's History of Super Mario, they didn't just entertain, they set standards for Nintendo. So these games were the first hits for Nintendo, so it was a high bar for other games to hit when they would take these pitches. And that's what helped create Nintendo's high quality of game to this day. They don't reduce the prices on their games because they know what they have, they take the time to develop it, and they release it. And Miyamoto is the reason that they do this, because they set the standard for the quality so high so early and has continued it that way. And in modern games like the most recent Mario was Odyssey or Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, on the current one it's all about creativity, accessibility. It all goes back to the same things that they did in the 80s when Miyamoto was at the head of game development. In 2007, Time Magazine recognized him as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. And on 60 Minutes, he spoke about his design philosophy, where complex technology was not at the forefront, not being more advanced than everyone else, but sparking the curiosity and joy of people. And that's what made Nintendo be more of a family. They target families more than the individual player. They want one console shared between multiple people in the family. That's why they did the handheld consoles and were so much more successful than everyone else at that. They never were over pushing their systems. They kept it simple, put out good games. And they're not just technically impressive, but games are supposed to be emotionally engaging to the point of like provoking sadness, laughter, and especially happiness, which is what he always was aiming to do. So what can I take away from this is I hope it's clear that Miyamoto wasn't just a game designer, but he was a pioneer. His groundbreaking work and unique vision, he forever changed the way anyone thinks about video games and the way that Nintendo is viewed in the space, socially, internationally, and the way that these characters have stayed in everyone's minds for 50 years.